In a remote corner of south-central Oregon, hidden within the rugged folds of the Rimrock Draw Rock Shelter, a discovery has just been made that is effectively tearing up the history books and tossing them into the campfire. For decades, the scientific consensus was that humans didn't arrive in the Americas until about 13,000 years ago, crossing a land bridge from Siberia. Archaeologists have uncovered tools and organic remains that have been radiocarbon dated to over 18,000, and possibly as far back as 20,000 years ago. This doesn't just push the timeline back a few centuries. It fundamentally rewrites the story of human existence in the Western Hemisphere. We are talking about proof of a thriving, intelligent culture existing in North America, while much of the continent was still locked under massive ice sheets. This discovery is a tectonic shift in anthropology. And today we're diving into the dirt to see exactly how these ancient Oregonians managed to survive, and why their presence changes everything. We thought we knew about our ancestors. To understand why this is such a massive deal, we have to look at the old Clovis first theory. If you went to school any time in the last 50 years, you were taught that the first Americans were the Clovis people, big game hunters with distinctively fluted spear points, who arrived as the glaciers melted. But the Rimrock Draw site is showing us that people were already here, living their lives, thousands of years before the first people were supposed to have arrived. The lead researcher on this project, Patrick O'Grady and his team from the University of Oregon, found something buried deep beneath layers of volcanic ash that changed the game entirely. Under a layer of ash from an eruption of Mount St. Helens that occurred 15,000 years ago, they found evidence of even older human activity. When you find artifacts asterisk under asterisk, a dated geological event, you have an undeniable timestamp from nature itself. The key artifact that sent shockwaves through the scientific community was a small, unassuming piece of orange agate. It wasn't a spear point or a grand monument. It was a scrapper, a tool used for processing animal hides or wood. What makes this tool so special is its location. It was found nestled alongside the teeth of an extinct camel species, Camelops. Yes, camels used to roam the Oregon high desert. By using radiocarbon dating on the tooth enamel and the organic material surrounding the tool, the team arrived at a date of approximately 18,250 years. In the world of archaeology, that date is a lightning bolt. It proves that humans and Ice Age megafauna were interacting in the Great Basin millennia, earlier than anyone dared to suggest. But the mystery goes even deeper than a single tool. As the team meticulously excavated the layers, they realized they weren't just looking at a camp, they were looking at a long-term home. The Rimrock Draw Rock Shelter provided a natural limestone roof, protection from the elements, and a vantage point over the surrounding valley. The geological history of this area is a masterclass in survival. 20,000 years ago, the landscape wasn't the dry desert we see today. It was a vibrant, lush environment, filled with massive lakes and wandering herds of bison, mammoths, and those prehistoric camels. The Oregon discovery tells us that these early pioneers weren't just passing through, they were masters of their environment, utilizing the natural architecture of the earth to thrive in a world that was still very much in the grip of the last ice age. One of the most fascinating aspects of this recent scientific discovery is what it says about human resilience. If humans were in Oregon 20,000 years ago, it means they had to cross into the Americas long before the ice-free corridor between the glaciers opened up. This supports the coastal migration theory, suggesting that these people may have traveled by boat or followed the shoreline down the Pacific coast. The Rimrock Draw site is the smoking gun for this theory. It places people in the interior of the continent at a time when the land route from the north was supposedly blocked by a wall of ice 2 miles high. These early Oregonians were explorers of the highest order, navigating a changing planet with nothing but stone tools and incredible ingenuity. The technology found at the site reveals a high level of scientific intelligence for the era. The stone tools aren't just random rocks. They are carefully selected and knapped with precision. The use of orange agate and obsidian shows that these people were traveling long distances or trading across vast networks to get the best materials for their gear. Obsidian, in particular, is a volcanic glass that can be sharpened to an edge thinner than a modern surgical scalpel. By analyzing the chemical signature of the obsidian found in the rock shelter, researchers can trace it back to specific volcanic flows miles away. This tells us that 20,000 years ago, there was already a complex social geography in the Pacific Northwest. The biological evidence found at the site is equally chilling. Alongside the camel teeth, researchers found fragments of bison and other large mammals that no longer exist. This gives us a window into the diet and the hunting strategies of these ancient people. They weren't just scavengers. They were tactical hunters who understood the migration patterns and behaviors of massive animals. The discovery of these remains in close association with human tools suggests a level of coexistence with the megafauna that lasted for thousands of years. It challenges the idea that humans arrived and immediately caused the extinction of these animals. Instead, it seems they lived together in a delicate balance for a very long time. Now, let's talk about the timelines of existence. If we push the human arrival in the Americas back to 20,000 years, we have to rethink the evolution of culture across the entire globe. It means that while the famous cave paintings were being created in Lascaux, France, people were already sitting under a rock ledge in Oregon, scraping hides and watching the sun set over ancient lakes. This parallel development shows that the human spirit of exploration is much older and more widespread than we previously imagined. The mystery of how they got here and how they survived the extreme cold of the Pleistocene is one of the most exciting puzzles in modern science. The geological risks of excavating a site like Rimrock Draw are significant. The team had to dig through thick layers of Mazama ash, from the massive eruption that created Crater Lake and St. Helens ash. Each of these layers acts like a heavy blanket, sealing the history beneath it. But it also makes the excavation dangerous. The walls of the trenches can be unstable, and the ash itself is abrasive and difficult to work with. Despite these challenges, the University of Oregon team has spent over a decade meticulously peeling back the layers. Their patience has been rewarded with a discovery that is fundamentally realigning our understanding of the American past. What is truly terrifying or awe-inspiring about this discovery is the realization of how much we know. If a small rock shelter in Oregon can hide a 20,000-year-old secret, what else is buried beneath the sagebrush of the Great Basin? Scientists are now using LiDAR, light detection and ranging, to scan the landscape from airplanes. This technology uses laser pulses to see through the vegetation and create high-resolution maps of the ground surface. They are looking for more rock shelters, more ancient shorelines, and more evidence of the first Oregonians. The Rimrock Draw site is just the beginning of a new era of high-tech archaeology that is revealing a vibrant, ancient world hidden in plain sight. The role of DNA analysis in this discovery is also a major frontier. While no human remains have been found at Rimrock Draw yet, modern techniques allow scientists to extract environmental DNA from the soil itself. This means they can find the genetic traces of humans and animals who lived in the cave thousands of years ago, even if their bodies are long gone. If we can find the DNA of the people who used that orange agate tool, we can finally answer the question, where did they come from? Are they the ancestors of modern indigenous tribes, or were they a lost group that disappeared at the end of the Ice Age? Let's dive into the vibrancy of life in the Pleistocene Oregon. Imagine the scene at Rimrock Draw 18,000 years ago. The valley below is filled with a shallow blue lake. Broad-headed bison are grazing on the shore. A group of humans is huddled under the rock ledge, the air smelling of wood smoke and roasted meat. They are using stone scrapers to turn a camel hide into a warm cloak. These people weren't primitive in their capacity for emotion, art, or social connection. They had languages, myths, and memories. The discovery at Rimrock Draw gives these ancient people a voice again. It reminds us that history isn't just a list of dates. It's the story of individuals surviving against incredible odds. The scientific community is currently in a state of vibrant debate over these findings. Some traditionalists are still skeptical, demanding even more absolute proof before they officially move the timeline of human existence. But as more carbon-14 dates come back from the lab, the evidence is becoming undeniable. The Oregon site is part of a growing list of pre-Clovis locations across the Americas, including sites in Texas, Florida, and even as far south as Chile. Together, these sites are building a new map of human migration that is much older, much more complex, and much more international than we ever suspected. The discovery also highlights the importance of geological preservation. The reason Rimrock Draw is so significant is that the conditions were perfectly calibrated to save the evidence. The The limestone protected the artifacts from the rain, and the volcanic ash snap froze the layers in time. It is a time capsule created by the Earth itself. If we want to find more sites like this, we have to think like a geologist. We have to look for places where the environment has bottled up the past and kept it safe from the erosion of time. Think about the ingenuity required to survive an Oregon winter 20,000 years ago. The temperatures would have been consistently below freezing, with massive snowfall. These people didn't have metal, they didn't have synthetic fabrics, and they didn't have a supermarket. They relied entirely on their knowledge of the land. They knew which plants could be used for medicine, which stones would hold an edge, and how to track animals across the snow. Their science was the science of survival, and the Rimrock Draw site proves they were geniuses at it. The orange agate tool is a testament to their materials science, choosing a specific mineral for its durability and sharpness. The redrawing of the timeline also forces us to reconsider the migration routes. If humans were in Oregon 20,000 years ago, did they come from the north, or could they have crossed the Pacific? While most evidence still points to an Asian origin, the timing is now so early that it opens up all sorts of mysterious possibilities. Some researchers are even looking at the possibility that there were multiple waves of migration. The archaeologists at the University of Oregon are continuing their work, carefully sifting every bucket of dirt through fine mesh screens. They are looking for the tiny things, minute flakes of stone, charred seeds, and microscopic hair follicles. These micro-artifacts are often more important than the big spear points because they tell the daily story of life. They tell us what people were eating, what pets they might have had, and how they spent their quiet moments. Every scientific discovery starts with this kind of unseen labor. The Rimrock Draw site has also become a vibrant center for indigenous history. Local tribes are working alongside the archaeologists to interpret the findings and connect the ancient past with their own oral traditions. The discovery of a 20,000-year-old site is not a surprise. It is a scientific confirmation of what their stories have been saying for generations, that they have been here since time immemorial. The science and the tradition are finally starting to speak the same language. Looking at the global impact, this discovery is a reminder that scientific consensus is always a work in progress. We should never be too certain that we have the final answer. The Earth is constantly leaking new information that challenges our old models. The Oregon discovery is a call to all future scientists to keep looking, keep digging, and never assume that the timeline is finished. History is alive, and it is much deeper than we ever dared to imagine. The mystery of the orange agate tool remains a highlight of the site. Why choose that specific orange stone? Was it because it was easier to find in the ash, or did it have a symbolic value? In many ancient cultures, the color of a tool was just as important as its function. It could represent a specific clan or a spiritual connection to the earth. Through scientific analysis, we can see that the tool was used and resharpened many times, meaning it was a prized possession. It wasn't something to be thrown away. It was a companion in the struggle for life. As we look at the rising risks of climate change today, the Rimrock Draw site provides a unique perspective. These ancient people lived through the most massive climate shift in recent geological history, the end of the last ice age. They saw the lakes dry up, the camels vanish, and the glaciers retreat, and they adapted. They changed their tools, they changed their diets, and they changed their homes. The Oregon discovery is not just a look at the past, it is a blueprint for human adaptability. It shows that our species is designed to handle a shifting world. The ancient site also tells us about the social structure of these early humans. You don't survive 18,000 years in the Ice Age wilderness alone. You need a team. You need a network. The artifacts at Rimrock Draw suggest a group of people who worked together, shared their food, and cared for their vulnerable. There is a sense of community resilience that radiates from the rock ledge. The discovery is a vibrant celebration of the social glue that has kept humanity going for hundreds of thousands of years. Researchers are now focusing on the ancient climate mapping of the Oregon Basin. By studying the pollen and the microfossils found in the same layers as the tools, they can reconstruct the weather reports from 20,000 years ago. They are discovering that the area had vibrant summers and brutal winters, with a plant diversity that would be unrecognizable today. This paleo-environmental data is vital for understanding how climate and human history are intertwined. The Oregon site is a scientific laboratory for the future of our planet. The terrifying part for some is the realization that a volcanic catastrophe could happen again. The layers of ash that preserved Rimrock Draw are a reminder that the Pacific Northwest is a geologically active zone. Mount St. Helens and the other peaks in the Cascades are sleeping giants. The ancient people lived in the shadow of these mountains, likely witnessing some of the largest eruptions in human history. The Oregon discovery proves that humans are survivors of disasters, capable of rebounding even after the sky turns dark with ash. The discovery of the 18,000-year-old date was not a one-off fluke. The team has submitted multiple samples to different labs around the country, and the results are consistent. This is the gold standard of science replication. When different labs, using different equipment, all point to the same ancient date, you know you are looking at the truth. The timeline of human existence in America has officially been moved. What does this mean for future discoveries? It means that we need to dig deeper. Many archaeological projects stop when they hit a certain layer, assuming that there is nothing more to find. But the Oregon site shows that the ancient world is often buried beneath the expected world. We have to have the courage to keep digging into the older layers of the Earth's crust. There could be sites 25,000 or even 30,000 years old waiting for us in the American West. The ingenuity of the archaeologists themselves is also part of the story. Using forensic science techniques, they have been able to identify protein residues on the stone scrapers. They can tell you exactly which animal was being processed by that specific tool. They found traces of camelid protein, confirming that the tool was indeed used on an Ice Age camel. This molecular archaeology is like something out of a crime show. But the crime scene is 18,000 years old. The vibrant colors of the artifacts, the orange agate, the black obsidian, the gray limestone, are a reminder that the ancient world was not a black and white place. It was a world of color and texture. The people at Rimrock Draw had an aesthetic sense. They made beautiful objects even in the most difficult circumstances. This artsy side of human existence is just as old as the hunting side. The Oregon discovery is a celebration of the whole human, not just the survivor. The site has also revealed ancient fire pits. By analyzing the charcoal, scientists can tell which types of wood were being burned. They found that these people were selectively gathering different woods for different purposes, some for long-burning heat and some for bright light. The scientific discovery of these fire pits gives us a warm connection to the people who sat around them 20,000 years ago. The mystery of the lost camels of Oregon is one of the most compelling stories. How did they live? Why did they disappear? By studying the remains at Rimrock Draw, we are learning more about these prehistoric residents. They were much larger than modern camels, with massive padded feet designed for the wet basin floors. They were the world's first camel specialists. The scientific discovery at Rimrock Draw is also a global story of humanity's expansion. We are adding another dot to the map of the great human trek. From Africa to Europe, from Asia to the Americas, our species has been on a vibrant and limitless journey. The Oregon site is one of the farthest and oldest points on that map. It represents the frontier of the human spirit. As the excavation season concludes each year in Oregon, the team carefully backfills the site to protect it from looters and erosion. They are guardians of this history. The Oregon discovery is a national treasure, and it is being treated with the respect it deserves. The future of the site includes a potential museum or educational center, where everyone can see the orange agate tool and learn about the first Americans. The redrawing of the timeline is a victorious moment for curiosity. It shows that when we ask new questions, we get new answers. The University of Oregon team didn't set out to change history. They just set out to see what was under the ash. Their honesty and rigor have led to one of the most important discoveries in the history of the continent. The Oregon site is a beacon for scientific integrity. Think about the legacy of those 20,000-year-old humans. They didn't leave a written history. They didn't build skyscrapers. And they didn't change the climate. But they survived. They passed the torch of life through some of the coldest and hardest times our planet has ever seen. We are here today because they didn't quit. The Oregon discovery is a thank you to our ancestors for their unbelievable resilience. The discovery also reminds us that discovery itself is a human right. We have a right to know where we came from and who we were. The Oregon site is a gift to all of humanity, a vibrant and real link to our deep past. It is a scientific discovery that unites us, showing that regardless of our modern differences, We all share the same ancient story of struggle and triumph. The recent scientific discoveries at Rimrock Draw are still evolving. New data is being published every month, and the experts are still analyzing the findings. The site is a living library. As we learn more about the microfossils, the obsidian commerce, and the environmental DNA, the timeline of human existence will only become richer and more vibrant. Oregon has given us a new past, and it is a beautiful thing to see. The terrifying beauty of the Oregon High Desert today is a mirror of the world 20,000 years ago. It is a place of raw power and immense scale. When you stand at Rimrock Draw, you can feel the weight of the 20,000 years. You can hear the wind whistling through the limestone, just as the first people did. The discovery has made the landscape feel alive with history. It is no longer just dirt. It is a vibrant and precious part of our human identity. As we wrap up this deep dive into the Oregon discovery, keep your eyes on the recent scientific discoveries in your own area. The ground is full of secrets. You never know when a small piece of orange stone might change the world forever. The Oregon discovery is a victory for science, a victory for history, and a victory for the human spirit. Stay curious, keep looking, and remember that the timeline is yours to explore. The archaeologists discovered a site, but they also discovered a new way to look at ourselves. We are older than we thought. We are stronger than we thought. And we are more connected to the earth than we ever dreamed. Someone sat under that rock ledge and believed in the future. And here we are, living it. The vibrant and active world of the Pleistocene is gone, but the data remains. The scientific discovery in Oregon is a bridge to that world. It's a brilliant and illuminating look at what it means to be human. By changing the timeline, we are broadening our vision. We are expanding our history, and we are celebrating the incredible journey of human existence. Thank you for exploring this ancient Oregonian world with me. Stay scientific and stay curious.